There's no job like your first job. Find out how the brightest minds in HR, talent, and recruiting got their start. This is My First Job, hosted by Mike Wood, only on the Purple Acorn Network.
Hey friends, Mike Wood here for another edition of My First Job on the Purple Acorn Network. And today I am thrilled to be joined by Mr. Tom Horne, who is the Director of Partnerships at Hari. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Long time listener, first time caller.
Yes, yeah. Well, we've long time been connected in the space, but it's always great to talk in person. Tom is one of those people on LinkedIn I see all the time sharing the positivity and doing good things out in the space. So definitely check him out on LinkedIn. But Tom, this is a whole podcast about your first job. So I want to hear what your first job was.
I plan on kind of cheating and combining two, but my first job,
That's okay.
very first job, was landscaping. My neighbor owned a company, big, giant, scary dude, national champion, heavyweight wrestler.
Oh my God.
My dad told me that I was working for him one day, and man, it was an experience.
Yeah, so you didn't get to make a decision about working for him. You basically had to work for him, and then if you don't work for him, something bad could happen to you.
I didn't even go down the road. It was like, "Oh, yes, sir, sounds good."
All right, so what
let's
was the
start my career.
landscaping job? Everybody that says, I just want to say screw it one day and go out and just work on my yard all day, is that it? Is it the dream life?
No, it's like my dad says, I like gardening, but as soon as it turns into yard work, I quit. I don't want to work. I want to garden. And this was all work. I mean, we would get up. I didn't know if I was working that day or had the day off 7 days a week until he'd call me at 5 a.m. and say,
Oh God.
be out at the truck in 30 minutes, ready to roll. Bring me a coffee. And then we drive 35 minutes to this area and have like 18 houses to do during the day. So, I mean, talk about like giving notice, having scheduling, having any sort of control, all the stuff I talk about in my world now. None of that. Like, you're either working or you're not working. I couldn't plan ahead on anything that entire summer.
Wow. Yeah. No, and I've learned through these interviews with people that if there's any demographic of people that I want to exploit for cheap labor, it's the 15-year-olds out there. It's just get
Oh
them
yeah.
young. They don't know any better. Pay them cash under the table, whatever. They don't have rights yet. They're not 18.
Yep. It was all cash. It was there was a guy Oswaldo. He was from Guatemala. That also it was me and him on the crew, and then the boss. And he would just drop Oswaldo and I off and be like, "All right, you got these 5 houses. I'll be back." I had no clue where he went or what he did, but he would come back and inspect our work and be like, "Nope, you're not done." It started at first was like, "You're not done on time. You're going to work through lunch, and you can eat something in between this group of houses and the next site." So then we'd work really quick, work really fast to get it done, and he'd show up and we'd be all proud. "Hey, we finished our work. Can we have lunch today?" And he'd go, No, this is sloppy work, sloppy work," and send us back. And again, no lunch. And he'd be sitting there eating pizza, and we'd be just getting the crappiest like 7-Eleven stuff because we didn't earn the right to have a good lunch.
Well, that's violating
Eventually, we figured it out.
laws. Yeah. But eventually you work better. And this poor guy that got stuck with you too, now he's stuck having to answer for your work, and you're like this 15-year-old kid. So
And he spoke no English, so him and I had to learn to communicate through hand signals and head nods and just work together. There's probably, when you have landscaping, there's mowing, trimming, edging, blowing stuff off, raking. There's a bunch of stuff from each of these sites, and we had to kind of figure out and get into our groove of how to work together.
But that must have helped you down the line, and kind of like being a fish out of water almost. At any place, you could just remember the skills of trying to communicate with someone and you don't speak the same language.
Yeah, it was. I went into hospitality, and that came in massively handy. Learning how to just communicate and build bonds with people, even if you don't have that shared language. I rescued him from a pool. He was blowing off a pool area, fell into a
You
pool.
just buried this story. Like, yeah,
Didn't,
I
didn't
want to
know
hear
how to
about this.
swim. He didn't know how to swim. So I had to like dive in and pull this dude out. And, like he had the big backpack on. He's like, oh my God. You could tell like he's like, you just saved my life. His eyes were this big. And so yeah, I saved Oswaldo's life. You know, and I will say, as tough as it was, I learned some lessons that have always stuck with me. And one was efficiency. You know, efficiency is what would allow me to have lunch. How work fast enough, but accurately enough to be able to earn myself a sit down lunch at a pizza place instead of eating in the truck. And over time, you know, at first it was speed, but then sloppy work. And then eventually we learned how to work as a team, hone our craft, and have fast and really good work. And then we were able to earn lunch. And honestly, that lesson of efficiency, how do I get more done more accurately with less time, is something that stuck with me for 30 years now.
Well, that's we should all have that. I just remember being, anytime I did like housework, my dad would come by and inspect it, and I don't know if he made a point to find everything that was wrong with it, but there were a lot that was wrong with it. Like, oh, when you're vacuuming, you have to take off the nozzle and do the edges. And I'm like, I'm not doing the edges. Like, I'm like a 16-year-old kid. I don't want to be vacuuming.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, you learn to get something done right the first time. Otherwise, you're going to do it again.
That was my mom. My mom preached that. It didn't totally connect until it involved me not eating lunch.
All right, so
she
you
laid the
saved
groundwork.
Oswaldo, and
Yep.
I have a surprise for you. We actually have Oswaldo here, and he left it out stupid.
I'd love to see
That would be
him.
great. If we had that type of budget and research department, then that would be great. But you saved him from a pool, and you later went into lifeguarding, right?
Yeah. Wow, I didn't even see that time. This is good hosting.
See?
And the reason I wanted to kind of touch on the first two was that was one summer. It was under the table. I don't know if it was a job, but the next year, you know, my dad said, "Hey, how is landscaping?" And I went, "You know what, Dad? I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I want to like not do that. I want like I want a desk job." And he's like, "Okay, cool. You learned one of the lessons I wanted you to learn. So now you can go lifeguard with all your buddies." And that was a new can of worms. It was so I was a competitive swimmer. My mom taught CPR and first aid. So I was the best swimmer, lifeguard. I was one of the best at all the first aid stuff. But I was around all my friends, and all I did was screw around all the freaking time.
That's
And
fantastic.
yeah, it's like the perfect lifeguard job, perfect summer job. But our boss was this, we'll just call her Donna. But she was scarier than heck. Giant Xena warrior tattoo on her shoulder. And man, she ruled with an iron fist. We were all scared to death of her.
Wait,
But
was it really a Xena warrior princess tattoo?
No, it was an actual Xena warrior princess tattoo, like a giant one, like the whole shoulder, like no joke. We were like, "Oh my God, there's Donna!" Everyone like, get it together. I mean, I saw her like chop the head off a snake like with a shovel, and she's like, "Back to work." We're like, "Oh my God, that was a water moccasin." Get out of here, you wimps. Yeah, she was a tough lady. But I remember this was like a pivotal moment in my upbringing. Again, it stuck with me was I was screwing around. She called me in and was like, "You know what, Horn, you're going to lose your shift tomorrow. And I want to make you a manager, but you're jerking around too much. You're messing around. You're the best swimmer. People listen to you. People follow you. You're good at the CPR stuff. The guests love you. Like, don't you understand that, like, actually caring about your job and doing good at your job is way easier than screwing around and getting in trouble? And if you do all that, then you won't get in trouble. And then you're going to make more money, get better shifts, and then you can screw around more and no one's really going to care." And like that speech she gave me was like, kind of back to that efficiency piece of, and still to this day, I mean, I think about Donna and that lesson all the time. I got my act together. I got promoted. I made more money. I got to be my sister's boss, which was freaking awesome the next year. Instead of having to be her colleague. Yeah, she had to work for me. And it really just came down to like, you've got to be good at the core base of your job. And if you do that, you get more freedoms to do more things. And that was a lesson that was like, always lean in, always work really hard. and then life's easier, right? Like inherently, a lot of us, at least I am, inherently kind of lazy. And the easiest way to have a good, comfortable life is to work hard. It's actually the easier road than not working hard and screwing around. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my big first lesson.
Now you're a personable guy. I'm a personable guy. I like people and like laughing, and it's very easy for me to fall into a trap of hanging out with people, with coworkers that I like. And I remember I was at this one company who shall remain nameless, and there was one of the sales guys was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. And I remember I was kind of like screwing off with him a little bit, and my boss had just like randomly, he didn't pull me aside specifically for it, but we were talking about my future and stuff. And he mentioned that nobody ever gets ahead having friends like this. And it's okay to have friends like this, but like hanging out with them all the time, they're only going to bring you down.
Right.
And that stuck. And I remembered, I'm like, a part of me could be happy just like laughing with this guy for the next 10 years, but then I'm going to wake up 10 years down the road and I'm not going to go anywhere. So at some
Yeah.
point, you have to have that come to Jesus moment with yourself and just be like, what type of leader do I want to be? What type of employee do I want to be? Now you get older and you're like, I don't want to be that type of employee either. Like I want to go back to being having fun and stuff, but there's a healthy medium there.
Yeah. I mean, you can have fun and work hard. I feel like, again, the harder I work, if I work really hard, I'm a good communicator, and I'm a big part of the team, then I can have more fun. Then I can crack more jokes. I can drop more emojis and emails, and people are like, "Oh yeah, Tom's fun because he gets his stuff done." But if you're cracking
Exactly.
jokes and sending emojis and like, you know, adding a little bit more of your outside work personality into work, and you're not getting your work done, it really comes back the other way at you really hard.
Yep. Now let's talk about your current work. You're at Harry. I've
Yep.
known the team there for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. Actually, since they first kind of came out, they've been that company. I believe it was not last HR Tech, but the year before. They had a huge round of funding, and so they were the darlings of HR Tech. And now they're just continually working strong. Tell me why you're at Harry and what it's like with the team over there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been probably the best first month I've had at any company. You know, I came up, I came up from college, got a hospitality and business degree, worked in hotels, worked in restaurants, managed high-end athletic clubs out in California, really heavy on operations. And I made a pivot and decided once I had my first son that I didn't want to work in a box 80 hours a week. I needed a little bit more life balance. So I've been in HR tech since then. So I've known Harry for a while. I started at a company called Hot Schedules, which is now a competitor, I would say. So I've known them a long time. I've really liked their CEO, Luke, and I just kept tabs on him. And I saw an opportunity, reached out to a former colleague, and jumped on board. It's one of those, those startups you watch and you're like, all right, it's not the time for me yet, but I'm going to keep an eye on these folks here. So I've been keeping tabs on them, and I really love what they're doing in the market. They kind of started as just talent acquisition and really have kind of evolved through that entire employee journey, all the way up to being a really strong core HR type of product, like full workforce management. So I thought this was the right time to get in. Director of partnership roles, in my mind, the perfect role for me. So I couldn't be more excited. I'm not here by accident. It was a really intentional job move, and I haven't always had the luxury of making those intentional job moves. So I'm really, really excited to
Yeah.
be here.
I think intentional job move is going to be something that is going to disappear for a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5. But I do like to see you there. I think it's a perfect fit too. Like, give me your thoughts on kind of like what the current state of work is and what you see. And you've been in HR tech for a while.
Yeah, I
Is it all
mean,
doom and gloom?
yes, no. It's a wild time, right? Like it's a real, it sounds cliche, but a real inflection point, right? Like there's it's a time where the employees and the employers are really battling for control. It's sometimes the market's really employee driven. When companies are really really trying to find that right talent, employees are like, yeah, right, give me a raise and I want more money and I need better benefits, and then companies kind of react to that. I think we're in an interesting spot now where companies are trying to pull that back and go, hey, COVID, great, I want you back in the office. There's this big push and pull on return to office. There's this kind of insecurity or lack of visibility for the economy. So companies, they know they still need talent. They need the right talent, but they're also a little sheepish bringing on folks right now, not knowing where they're going, but also there's a lot of work to be done right now and nothing has changed. So I think there's this really interesting dynamic between employee power and company power. And they're both, I think, kind of knocking into each other right now. So I'm genuinely interested to see how that ends up. And then AI, of course.
Yeah, and then
That's coming
AI.
in.
But well, the thing is,
That's
like,
coming in.
so yeah, like Harry focuses on frontline employees, and so
Mhm.
I see AI helping with the hiring on the frontline level when you're just looking to fill spots and you have this high turnover rate, and you're just getting people into places because you're trying to run a restaurant, for example. Where it gets a little bit difficult is when you have like people with multiple skill sets and you're not just looking at one particular skill like a cashier or something like that, when you're looking at
Mhm.
multiple skills. And I feel like, you look online and just there's so much out there right now. There's so much posting on jobs. There's so much clutter. It's just trying to stand out for these people and meet them where they are. Um, and so like frontline hiring is a lot different than, knowledge based hiring. And so I think, at least you'll still have a market of
Yep.
people to hire soon.
100%. You're looking at 100% turnover, in a lot of these industries, 80, 100% turnover. I mean, if you're listening to this, you're not in a frontline or hospitality area. Imagine 100% turnover in your business, what that looks like year over year. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're
it is wild.
constantly like bailing water out of a canoe or something like that. You're just constantly trying to tread
Yep.
water. Now AI is coming, and there's a lot of like fake information out there. There's a lot of fear of the unknown, and is AI going to replace me? Kind of. It won't replace you completely. There's some steps you can take to make sure that you're not replaceable, but it is coming for a large chunk of jobs. Like, is there anyone that you recommend kind of following to make sure that I'm up to date on everything that's going on in AI?
I mean, I'll give a shout out to my previous company, Rejig. I
Hmm.
really like what they're doing in the space. There's some other folks operating in the space, but I'll just kind of give the one that I worked at. But what I really like about their perspective is that, listen, AI is coming, but most CEOs today don't even know what to do with it. Most companies, huge companies, don't even have a full strategy around it. You're starting to use some of the GPTs and some of this, chatbots and like very base level, but the AI that's taking your job is not necessarily here yet for the most part. There are some jobs for sure, but what I liked about their view is that people have skills. AI can do tasks, and it's kind of a fine line on how you define it. But really, for the next run, what AI should be doing is taking tasks away, like menial tasks away from workers, so that they can focus on what they do best. And I really like kind of the task and skills based conversation around AI, because AI can do tasks for you, but let's make sure we have your team. If I'm taking 25% of your tasks away, what skills do you have that I can have you doing other tasks? Where can we use you? If AI is taking 30% of your job now and you're a top performer and they can still use you, that's fine. But what's your career path for 4 or 5 years so you don't career path into a job that's fully taken with AI? So I think the space right now is figuring out how to get that path forward. And that's where everyone's at. I think everyone has this pressure like, we need to be using AI. Yes, you should be, but you don't need to be like living in AI. I think that's
Yeah,
really
no,
still a bunch of years
AI will
away.
be there. AI will be it will be here before you know it. It will be in your emails and whatever, making little changes to help you
Yeah.
free up time to learn some new things. So, like for example, like doing notes for any type of meeting is just time consuming. AI does that for me now. Doing writing things that I don't necessarily care about, like session descriptions for an event, for example. It can take a first pass at it. I then become an editor for it. So like that's
Yep.
the stuff that I love hearing about. And a lot of the kind of skills that I've learned through the years have been stuff I had to learn on my own, and that because I was
Yep.
interested in it. So if there's someone on your team that AI could take care of scheduling social media, for example, scheduling those messages and making sure everything's optimized, maybe that person can then take that time to level up their skills in terms of executive presence within the company, or if there's something new that's coming, maybe they can be the one that like takes a look at AI and really tries to train themselves about AI. I would recommend everybody take as much AI courses as possible so that you're the one who's
Yeah.
helping direct the AI, not being replaced by the AI. So I
I
just
mean,
I think that's the future.
yeah.
Hopefully, it's the future.
Yeah.
Companies are pulling back from really training their own staff, at least from the places that I've worked at. It's usually we need that skill. Let's get it from the outside. But maybe AI is here to help us train internally and try to land and expand within our own companies.
AI isn't changing what's always been there, which is you have to continue to grow. You have to constantly build new skills. You have to constantly evolve where you're at. Even if you're working on the front line at a Jersey Mike's, like how quickly can you make a sandwich and how nice can you make it look? Can it look like the commercial and can it
Yeah.
be quick and efficient?
Do you need
Like
to put a
I've,
gallon of
I've done that.
watery
Yeah.
vinegar on the sandwich in order to
Oh
get it that
yeah.
Mike's
Yeah, you
flavor?
do. Can you work the grill? Can you work the register? It's not just I got hired as, the register person. Can I do the other pieces? That's talking front line. I got into sales because I listened to how the salespeople did it at my other jobs. I got into marketing because I just watched and saw how marketing folks did and partnered up with them on different projects to learn. So it's always been there. Now it just seems like there's more of an end game and it's really shining the light. And it's not something to run from, it's something to lean into. Like learning how to use GPTs is a skill that I had in the last year because I know it's coming and now it's something I can
I
add. So now it's
Yeah,
going to open opportunity for me, not take from me.
I love that. You've coined a new term. Never heard it before. Leaning in with Tom Horne has nothing to do with
Leaning
Sheryl
in.
Sandberg, but I love that. So we're coming up on time. I could talk to you all day, but where can people find more Tom Horne online, and where can we find out more about you?
Uh, LinkedIn, spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. Tom Horn, got a pretty standard cover photo. You can find me pretty easy. Also, pretty heavy on Twitter. At Tom's Engaging HR is my Twitter handle, X handle. I know everyone's kind of running from that. At least
Oh, I
maybe
disappeared.
has shrunk, but I do a lot more sports watching and news on that now. But
See,
still a
that's what it
strong
used to be
HR
good
presence.
for.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what it
still
used to be
great for
good for.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm on Blue Sky, same. Tom's
Okay.
Engaging HR. You can find me everywhere. But tom.horn@harry.com is my work email. Ping me, find me, reach out. I'm always here for a conversation.
Well, I love that you're on Twitter because I pretty much left Mike Wood tweets for dead, and it's just kind of on there. I've moved to Blue Sky, but I think I've only put like one message up there because I'm old and I can't figure out new technology, and so I just ignore it. So, but it's been a great interview. I love hearing more about you, and I look forward to seeing all the cool things you're going to do at Harry.
This was a ton of fun. Love connecting, and hopefully I'll see you at a conference again here soon too.